Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalan Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nihitananda Syadaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Rama Rama Hare 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 Nama Eva Kevalam Kala Nastyeva Gattiranyata Madhuram Madhurebhyopi Mangalebhyopi Mangalam Pavanam Pavanebhyopi Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. So we are reading from Jaiva Dharma, 11th chapter. Nitya Dharma and idolatry. So some Vaishnavas, some Babajis, exalted devotees, were discussing in regards of the absolute truth with some Muslim scholars. And topic came up also of worshipping the deities, which most of the Muslims, they don't accept. So the Muslim leader, Mullah, is asking, isn't meditating on a form of the Lord within one's mind superior to imagining a form with the help of the material elements? Gurachand. They are one and the same thing. The mind follows matter, and whatever it thinks of it is also material. We may say that Brahma is all-pervading, but how can our minds actually conceive of this? We will be forced to think of it in its terms of the all-pervasiveness of the sky. How can the mind go beyond this consideration? Our conception of Brahma is therefore constrained by the limitation of material space. So the mind is a material element. So the embodied soul, Jiva, is within the gross body and the subtle body. Subtle bodies, the false ego, identifying with this world, identifying with this body, and even identifying with the consciousness. Then the material intelligence is there, and material mind. So the mind is thinking of material things. The mind cannot go, as explained here also, beyond this material world. However, if one is hearing about Krishna, from the great souls, by reading the scriptures, where the descriptions are there about Krishna, the Supreme Lord, or Vishnu, and so on. By worshipping the deities which are established by the pure devotees, then one may slowly but surely be able to actually think of Krishna then. So, but still, it is not completely pure. But one will become purified by thinking of the deity form, by hearing about Krishna and his wonderful qualities and pastimes. Krishna's complexion, Shamra, and Krishna's qualities, his attributes. Krishna wearing a dhoti, playing the flute. And then one becomes purified, and ultimately Krishna will reveal himself. Adasi Krishna, namadi na babekre mendriya seva mukhe jivaro sayameva sparatyadaha. So Krishna cannot be perceived by the material senses and material mind. Atasi Krishna Nam Adi. But Atasi Krishna Nam Adi, by chanting Krishna's names, Adi, by worshipping the deities, by hearing about Krishna. Sevan mukhe jiva do swayam evas paratyaha. So by being sevan mukh, Krishnan mukh, by having a service attitude, by serving Krishna, being devoted to Krishna, then Krishna's purity, Krishna will manifest as he is. So, it is a question of purification. And the devotee has to be engaged in devotional service, and then he becomes purified, and then Krishna will manifest by his own sweet fill. If one says, I am meditating on Brahma, the experience of Brahma will be limited by material time. For each phase, when one's meditation is concluded. How can the mind's meditation grasp an object that is above matter when it is conditioned by time and space, which are material phenomena? One may reject the idea that the form of the deity can consist of material elements, such as earth and water, and one can imagine that Ishwar is situated in the direction of space, but still this is all Bhuta Puja, the worship of matter. No material objects can support one's attainment of the transcendental goal. The only thing that facilitates this is the awakening of the inclination towards Ishvara. So one should be Sevan Mukh, Krishna Mukh. One should be inclined to take shelter of Krishna. This inclination is inherent within the Jivatma and is gradually strengthened and converted into bhakti when one utters the name of God, recites his pastimes, and receives inspiration from beholding the deity, Sivigraha. The Lord's spiritual form can be experienced only by pure bhakti, not by jnana and karma. So, seeing the deities, serving the deities is very much required for the conditioned soul. So by serving deities, there is a reciprocation. And Krishna is inspiring the devotee. Krishna is helping the devotee. Krishna is reciprocating with his devotees who serve him. So, of course, one should always be under the guidance of the advanced devotees, the spiritual master, in order to be able to serve, in order to be able to chant nicely, and then in order to advance. So we need the blessings of Sri Guru, and then Gauranga, and then Radha and Krishna. So the low spiritual form can be experienced only by pure bhakti, not by jnana and karma. Mula. Matter is distinct from God. I think that it is better not to worship material objects because it is said that Satan introduced the worship of matter to keep the living entities bound in the material world. Guru Chand. Ishwar is one without a second, and he has no rival. Everything in his world is created by him and is under his control. Therefore, he can be satisfied with any object when it is used in his worship. There is no object in this world one can worship that can arouse his malice. For he is all auspicious. Of course, there is a process of deity worship, which one has to learn from the spiritual master. And the spiritual master will also explain what Krishna likes, what Krishna does not like. Just like in foodstuffs. So, of course, Krishna also says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yume bhakti payachati. Whatever one offers, and then it's specifically mentioned here, Patram pushpam phalam toyam. So the leaves, they're also special, especially the Tutsi leaf. Then pushpa, flowers. And so when we worship the deities, we may perform artik, offering incense also, ghee lamp. And then, so we offer bhoga, foodstuffs to the Lord. And then we offer the tulsi leaves on the bhoga because Krishna is very fond of tulsi. The tulsi plant is very much worshipable. Krishna Priya, dear to Krishna. So, patram pushpam phalam toyam, and fruits, and toyam, water, can be offered. So the devotee who is worshipping every day the deities by performing artik, doing puja, bathing and dressing the deities, then there's naturally reciprocation. So, bhakti uparitam, so it should be done with devotional sentiments, with love. Of course, then also according to one's relationship with Krishna. So that will be the highest stage. In the beginning, Seva Sadhaka Rupena. As practicing devotee, we are worshipping the deities. Understanding we are not this body, we are spirit, soul, and Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So some own reverence is there. But by Mahaprabhu's mercy, we can understand the love of the Brijabasis towards Krishna. So which is, of course, based on love and without the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They think Krishna is my beloved, Krishna is my friend. Krishna is my son. So that is very pleasing to Krishna. Of course, Krishna is Atmaram, Aptakam, is self-satisfied. At the same time, to increase his transcendental pleasure, there's so much variety in the spiritual world, different planets, different personalities of Godhead. So, the devotee who is intelligent, he will worship the deities under the instruction of the spiritual master, according to the scriptures. And then he will get so much benefit, realizations, inspiration to especially chant the holy names, which is most important. So, so it is prescribed how we should do the worship and what Krishna likes, how he wants to be served. Even if a person such as Satan exists, he's no more than a special jiva under the control of God and has no power to do anything that is opposed to God's will. However, in my opinion, it is not possible for such a monstrous living entity to exist. No activity can take place that is contrary to the will of Ishwar, nor is any living entity independent of the Lord. So, it is mentioned that no one is independent of the Lord. Krishna means the Supreme Lord, the Absolute Truth. And everything is emanating from Krishna. The spiritual material worlds, the different Vishnu Murtis. But nobody is fully independent, Svarat, like Krishna. Of course, Vishnu is also as an expanded form of the Lord, of Krishna. So, one may think that he is living independent of Krishna. But the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, so he's accepting the worship of his devotees. But, so Vishnu, all the personalities of Godhead in Vaikuntha, they are aware of Krishna's supreme position and Krishna's wonderful qualities and pastimes. So they may be seen as independent and at the same time also dependent on Krishna. Achinta Beda Ved. So Krishna and his expansions are not different, but they are different. Whereas the living entities, Jivatma, they will be Namcha Tattva. And so they're worshipping the Lord. And there actually two categories. The Nityasiddha, those who are ever perfect, and the Nityabada, since time more ill-conditioned. So this transcendental subject matter can be understood by hearing from the right source, by reading the scriptures of the acharyas. And so, of course, sincere endeavor has to be there. Hare Krishna. So, Achinta Beda Veda philosophy, inconceivable oneness with the Lord and difference. Hare Krishna. The devotees are very wonderful and ready to serve the Lord.
Very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
It jumps out.
So here it is also mentioned, no activity can take place that is contrary to the will of Ishwar. So one may think, but well, Krishna doesn't want that we do something sinful. But then still it is happening. So Krishna does not want that the living entities are doing something sinful. And and then practically you can see people are sinful. So then one may question what activity can take place that is contrary to the will of Ishwar. Actually, Krishna is allowing the rebellious living entities to do something which Krishna does not like. And Krishna is tolerating. Just like one rich person may be there, or any person, and he has children. So if one child is deciding to live separate from the father, and the father, of course, he will not like it, and he will try to stop. But then an intelligent father also, he will although he will not like it, but still he may let the son do his activities. So the father doesn't really want, but he lets to do the son what he wants. And then, of course, he will be trying to see that he can still help somehow the child who is not obedient. But then he will not force. He will suggest, recommend what to do and what not to do. So, it is mentioned not even a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Lord. At the same time, Krishna is transcendental, performing his pastimes in Braj. So why he should bother about people doing some little problem, some little thing which is not right? So Krishna is most caring, Krishna is most wonderful. But sometimes he lets the conditioned soul to do something which is not proper, to do something which Krishna does not like. So even amongst the devotees sometimes it may happen. So basically the Lord is allowing the conditioned soul to do some activities which Krishna actually does not want. Just like a loving father who will let his child play. So, but then if somebody is doing something sinful, Krishna, seeing the condition of the jiva, being in the mood of ignorance, passion, then he may allow the jivatma to act in a certain way. Which is, from one point of view, contrary to the scriptures, to the Lord. But Krishna is not forcing anyone. It is voluntary, devotional service. Ultimately according to Krishna's will, as Krishna desires. So we should understand this point. You may ask, what is the origin of sin? My answer is as follows. Vidya, knowledge, is the understanding that the jivas are servants of Bhagavan, and avidya, ignorance, is forgetfulness of this. All jivas who, for whatever reason, take shelter of avidya, and sow the seed of all sins in their hearts. In the hearts of those jivas who are eternal associates with Bhagavan, there is no seed of sin. So the pure devotees, they will always be engaged in devotional service, and there is no seed of sin. There's no desire to engage in sinful activities, detrimental situations. So, but the conditioned soul, because of the modes of material nature, then they may desire some things which are not right. And they may engage in these activities. So Krishna is very merciful, and Krishna so Krishna performs his pastimes with his associates, but Krishna is also concerned for his devotees. And that is the meaning of Bhagavan. He is all powerful, all good, all knowing. And the jiva, so who comes to this material world by, ultimately, of course, this is also another difficult thing to understand, why the Lord, so he manifested his eternal associates, and then those who are conditioned by nature, who are also eternal associates of Krishna but not engaged in service. But eternal associates always engage in service, and there's no chance, no seed of sin. In the spiritual world there is no Maya. So they cannot sin. They cannot do something wrong. And when the Lord is coming here, then his associates are also coming with him. And they are not really covered by Maya. So, but some jivas are there. Since time immemorial, they are in conditioned life. And when the material world is manifested, they come here, and then they can choose to serve the Supreme Lord. So, but the conditioned soul, the Nitya-baddhas, who are since time immemorial conditioned, when they come in this world, when they are under modes of material nature, then the material consciousness will be there, material desires will be there. And then according to that, one will perform different activities. So the jiva has some independence, satantrata. But one is that the eternal associates, they try to engage in various activities, and no chance of doing, or even coming or doing something wrong. So unless it is the Lord's will, like the doorkeepers of Vishnu in Vaikuntha. So they were obstructing the four Kumaras. So sometimes by the will of the Lord, some associates of the Lord, they may undergo some kind of tribulation in this world. So but the jivas who are conditioned, when they come to this world, then immediately different desire will manifest, and then the desire for sin will be there. I want to eat meat, somebody thinks. So he's thinking and then he will do. But that is sinful, that is sin. So what is the origin of sin? My answer is as follows. Vidya, knowledge, and is the understanding that the jivas are servants of Bhagavan. And avidya, ignorance, is forgetfulness of this. All jivas who, for whatever reason, take shelter of avidya, sow the seed of all sins in their hearts. In the hearts of those jivas who are eternal associates of Bhagavan, there is no seed of sin. One should understand this truth of avidya carefully, instead of imagining an extraordinary myth about Satan. It means that it is not an offense to worship the Lord in material elements. So it means that it is not an offense to worship the Lord in material elements. So the Lord is always transcendental, but the Lord is manifest, or He appears as the deity form, Achyavatar, so that the devotees can see Him, serve Him, then remember Him. So that is His special mercy. But He's transcendental to this material world, but He appears in this form so that materialistic persons, they can see Him, they can worship Him, they can serve Him. So, worship of the deity is most essential for those of low spiritual eligibility, and it is particularly auspicious for people of high spiritual eligibility. So those who are not so advanced spiritually, so they can benefit by worshipping the deities. Those who are already more advanced, so for them it is most auspicious to worship the deities, and then the exchange will be there with the deity, and then one can ultimately understand that the Lord is transcendental to this material world, to matter. And then they can fully appreciate the deity also. In our opinion, it is mere dogma to think that the worship of the deity is not good. There is no logic or evidence from Shastra to support this position. So the deities are worshipped according to instructions of the spiritual master, according to the scriptures. And that is very beneficial for the practicing devotee. Mullah. the inclination toward God cannot be stimulated by worship of the deity, because the mind of one who performs such worship always remains confined to the properties of matter. Guru chant. When we can understand the defects in your theory by studying the ancient historical accounts of those who became great devotees. Many people began to worship the deity while they were neophytes, but as their devotion would develop through the association of pure devotees, their realization of the transcendental and conscious nature of the deity also increased, and eventually they became immersed in the ocean of prema. The irrevocable conclusion is that satsanga is the root of all spiritual advancement. So one has to associate with the devotees of the Lord, that will help one to advance. Then one can appreciate the deities. And then one will be blessed. Then one can chant the holy names properly, and one will be blessed. When one associates with bhaktas of Bhagavan who are fully situated in divine consciousness, one awakens transcendental affection towards Bhagavan. The more this transcendental affection increases, the more the material idea of the deity vanishes, and through great good fortune, this divine consciousness gradually unfolds. In contrast, the advocates of non-Aryan religions generally oppose deity worship, but just consider how many of them have attained spiritual realization, Chinmay Bhav. They waste their time in useless arguments and malice. When have they experienced true devotion to Bhagavan? So to experience devotion towards the Lord is, genuine devotion is not easy. So as indicated here, that so many religions are there, and they give some guidelines to their followers, and some benefit may be there. But not full benefit is there, but for those who are worshipping the Lord properly, and then full benefit will be there of that worship. And so then, in purified consciousness, then devotion will manifest. Whereas others in other religions, they have some sentiments, they have some belief, some faith, and some knowledge, but they're not able to directly serve the Lord. And so their sentiments are mostly on the material platform. In the beginning stage also devotees, their sentiments on the material platform, but by engaging devotional service by serving the deities, then it becomes more and more spiritualized. Mula. There's no fault if one performs internal bhajan of God in a mood of love and externally engages in the worship of the deity. However, how can it be worship of God to worship a dog? A cat, a serpent would eat bauchi. Our revered prophet Paigambar Sahib has vehemently condemned such worship of material objects. So definitely that we agree that how can be worship of God to worship a dog? So materialistic people, as Prabhupada used to say, instead of worshipping God, they are worshipping dog. So the proper process is there, padati, of worshipping the Lord, His forms. So it should be according to the scriptures, it should be according to the instructions of the great souls, the spiritual masters. Gurachand. All human beings are grateful to God, no matter how many sins they commit. Occasionally they become aware that God is the supreme entity, and when they are in doubt with this belief, they bow down before the extraordinary things of this world. So that is natural, because everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna. So therefore, ultimately they may turn towards God. So therefore, and that can be seen also. Then they will respect, as mentioned here, the sun or nature, and so on. So but that is not the complete understanding. They express the hearts before such things and display submission to them. Granted, there is a vast difference between this type of worship of material objects and transcendental affection toward the Lord, Chinmaya Bhagavad Bhakti. Still, when such ignorant people adopt a mood of gratitude to God and reverence towards material objects, it gradually produces a positive effect. Therefore, if one examines the situation logically, one cannot ascribe any fault to them. So therefore, one should not disturb the people of this world who may have some sentiments so in their religious process or in their understanding. So therefore here it is indicated one should be positive and encourage everyone to perform their duty and to try to endeavor to be engaged in spiritual activities, to endeavor to make advancement in spiritual life, to become perfect. Meditation on the formless, all-pervading feature of the Lord and offering namaz or other types of prayers to an impersonal aspect of the Lord are also devoid of pure transcendental love. So how are these methods any different from the worship of a cat, for example? We consider that it is essential to arouse bhav towards Bhagavan by any means possible. The door leading to gradual elevation is firmly shut if people on any level of worship are ridiculed or condemned. Those who fall under the spell of dogmatism and thereby become sectarian lack the qualities of generosity and munificence. That is why they ridicule and condemn others who do not worship in the same way as they do. This is a great mistake on their part. So that is an important point also. Those who fall under the spell of dogmatism, who become sectarian, so that is detrimental. Even if one may have some proper understanding of the absolute truth. So, but if one becomes sectarian, thinking my way is the only way, so they lack munificence and generosity. So that we have seen also practically. So fanatic or then sectarian Christians or Muslims, or even, so to say, Hindus, or even sometimes those being in a bona fide institution. But if they don't have the proper understanding and respect for others, and they think that is the only way, so then it may be sectarian also. So one has to be careful and respect all. But then we should try to help others in a humble way and not by force. Mula. Then we must conclude that everything is God, and that to worship anything at all is worship God. That would mean that worship of sinful objects or the sinful tendency is also worship of God. Do all these different types of worship please God? Guru chant. We do not say that everything is God. On the contrary, God is distinct from all these things. God creates and controls everything, and everything has a relationship with Him. The thread of that relationship runs through everything. And it is why one may inquire about the presence of God in all things. As one inquires into the presence of God in all things, one can gradually taste or experience the supreme transcendental and conscious entity. This is expressed in the Shastra. Jigyasa asvadanavadi. Inquiry leads to experience. Ato ta Brahma jigyasa. So in the beginning, so that should be there. So even though Brahma and others, so great personalities, so they're inquiring about the absolute truth. And then this inquiry and in devotional service, then so that will help, and then one may get experience. So one has to inquire about the absolute truth. But one should inquire from the right person, and then one should follow his advice. You all learned Pandits. If you kindly consider this matter in a generous mood, you will understand. We Vaishnavas are completely disinterested in material things, and we do not want to enter into long drawn out arguments. If you kindly permit us, we shall now go to hear the sublime musical narration of Sri Chaitanya Mangal. So the devotees, they were not so keen to be engaged in some kind of debate or, hearing different arguments, but rather they want to hear the wonderful narrations about the Supreme Lord, about His devotees, about the process of devotional service. So many transcendental literatures are there, which should be studied, and by studying them, then we'll get the proper understanding, and then we can be properly engaged. So, but under the direction of the spiritual master who is experienced. It was not evident what conclusion the mullahs have reached as a result of this discussion. After a short silence, he said, "I have been pleased to hear your point of view. On another day, I will return and inquire further. Now it is late and I wish to return home." He and his party then mounted their horses and departed for Satsaika Paragan. The Babajis loudly uttered the name of Sri Hari with great delight and entered the temple to hear the recitation of Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki. So this ends this 11th chapter. Any question? Everything clear? Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Jai Shri Radha Shama Sundar Ki.